Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Healthtech with Purpose podcast. Today's guest is Dr. Michal Katz, pediatrician, co-founder, and CEO of Kahun. Hello, Dr. Katz. How are you?
I'm good. Hi, Ayush. It's very nice to be here. Very excited for having this session with you.
Yeah, thank you so much for taking out the time, especially, I was all eager to hear about the fantastic work that you're doing, and especially, in the times we are in, so everybody's excited, but everybody wants to know what's workable, what's not. And from what I have read of your work, that's been one of your mission, in fact, to remove the garbage from the useful information. So tell us more about your work in your own words and the Kahun story. Let's start from there.
Sure, happy to. Maybe I'll start introducing myself. So as you said, I'm a CEO and co-founder of Kahun. My background started off in software engineering, later on trained as a medical physician and specialized in pediatrics. And Kahun is a company that we've built with a mission to introduce tools that empower physicians, that help them to navigate the huge amounts of knowledge and scientific knowledge that is out there, that is supposed to help them make more informed decisions about their patients. Now, as you mentioned, even just very, very high level, we are at a very exciting time now in the healthcare market, in the healthcare technology market, because models and technologies are being introduced and are showing high potential for making impact, both in reducing burnout for physicians, reducing cognitive burnout and documentation burnout, and eventually, finally getting to that holy grail of introducing better outcomes for the patients. So this is a very exciting time now, and we are seeing more willingness and more openness of healthcare systems and healthcare leaders, understanding that this is the time to start introducing and investing in healthcare technologies into their healthcare systems. And this is a very exciting path, and which I'm personally very excited to be a part of.
Yeah. And you come from a medical background, so I believe you empathize and understand, the natural inclination of the end users who are most of the time very skeptic about the new technologies that come in. And I think we can't blame them. Some of the technologies are more noise than useful. So tell us more about what excites you really about AI, that why this time, and not some other times that, this would be more successful.
Sure. And I mean, yes, exactly. I think my position as being both a pediatrician and a developer of technology that is aimed to be used in the hands of physicians is a unique position, because it is very complex to understand the workflow and the burden and the responsibility of us physicians in our daily work is something that probably is very unique to the professionals who are working in this field. And also to understand the other side, the complexity and potential of technologies is another unique understanding. And I hope I'm being able to bridge these two sections. And I think that you hit on a very sensitive point in your question: the fear and the skepticism of healthcare providers, and rightfully so. I mean, and even today, even with all the potential of the technologies coming out, still it is important to project the understanding that AI is not a magic trick. It's not going to solve everything. I mean, still, our work as physicians, it's not just the science, and it's not just the administrative work. It's a very sophisticated, complex gathering of many skills that we need to have. But there are definitely pain points and crises in this healthcare industry where these technologies can help. So anything that reduces my time on the computer, or the cognitive burden that I have with all the, doubling every 2 months of knowledge, of medical knowledge, and wanting to give my patients the best care, making the most informed and personalized decisions regarding their diagnostic or treatment. Anything that can help with these will make an impact, will impact on my life as a physician. It will empower me with knowledge and understanding and reduce time so I can spend it more with the patients themselves, but also, of course, make an impact for the whole industry.
Right. And your answer very much echoes with an article I was recently reading from A16Z about, AI jobs in enterprise healthcare, and not to replace physicians, but how there are so many opportunities to basically enable the physician to save time and to make the best out of their time and their opportunity and so on. So how do you make them stress free and enable them to do better? So
Yes.
why Kahun? Maybe I would like to go deeper. Again, in the noise of so many startups doing so many things in AI, an interesting thing. I believe you would always be asked about that. So, because AI has hallucination, it has inconsistency. So, what's Kahun's approach that makes it a bet that it can solve all those challenges, and how are you doing so?
Perfect. So, I mean, you started with a workforce crisis, which is the main problem of healthcare today, with the turnover and the burnout and so on. And we know this from post the pandemic, but this crisis started way before. And you're asking why Kahun? Because the difference between Kahun and other application developers who are building tools on top of the generative AI models to help reduce documentation time and productivity. Kahun is about the clinical tasks. Kahun is about enabling or being the foundation model that enables the use of the generative AI models for clinical tasks, to be able to make an impact, not just on the time saving, which is good enough and important, but also on the clinical standardization of care. This is where we are enabling these very, very powerful tools to be used to up-level every physician or any clinician, whether it's a nurse or a PA or a physician or a specialist. For every level of this hierarchy, there is a way that these tools, that these models, if they are used correctly, and I will explain how Kahun enables them to be used correctly. If they are used correctly, they are making the level of each one of these clinicians better. And if their level is better and they are practicing more on a standardization way, then we are improving the way that we're improving eventually the patient outcomes. And this, of course, will take time. Now, Kahun. Why Kahun? How Kahun enables that these models to be used in a way that is safe and accurate and trusted by physicians. Kahun's very core technology is a model that is completely different than generative models. It's not the same type of model, trying to validate the same model, the same large language models.
Okay.
Kahun built over the years a knowledge graph that holds the factual information coming from the clinical citations, from references of the medical literature. This is the ground truth of medicine. I mean, medicine is partially, but the big part is a scientific profession. We base our decisions upon scientific, peer-reviewed knowledge. So Kahun captures all this knowledge and facts from these knowledge sources into its knowledge graph, and enables LLMs to work together with this knowledge graph to be more accurate and transparent. So this transparency, this explainability layer that Kahun brings to the LLMs, to the generated models, enables them to be used for the clinical tasks. So we reduce the hallucinations and we reduce that black box nature of the LLMs, because we are adding factual knowledge
Mhm.
that is able to reason the outputs of any LLM.
Mhm. Great. So, if you were to explain in a layman terms, how much better are you than, let's say, a generic OpenAI LLM? So, let's say if you were to rate yourself on a scale of 1 to 10, 10 being, let's say, the ideal scenario, where would you rate, let's say, the normal available models and then Kahun, if you can?
That's a great question, Ayush. Very good question. I think there are several questions within it.
Mhm.
The question is, are we able to augment a physician, a
Mhm.
physician's ability? Now, if we are trying to augment the physician's capabilities of making decisions by introducing knowledge and decisions and insights or hypotheses to that physician, are we making them better? And if we're making them better, does that translate into better patient outcomes? These are all open questions
Right.
because we are in a new market now. And with new technologies coming into the market, the answers to these questions are long term. We cannot expect to have short term. But to answer your question, because this is a question that needs to be asked, it needs to be also broken down into steps.
Right.
So how can you evaluate? I'm going to try and maybe use my own words to ask the same question that you asked. How can you validate the accuracy of a general purpose decision support or clinical or physician assistant or co-pilots, clinical co-pilots for physicians? You can only compare them to gold standard answers of cases that have been agreed upon by physicians that they have the right answer. And this is how our system validates its outputs and accuracy of its outputs. And this is actually the same that you may have already seen done by other big LLM players like GPT or MedPalm from Google and so on. For our type of solutions that are general purpose solutions, we can compare versus board exams, for example, or agreed upon case reports that have been published and peer reviewed. And this is also how we use them.
Okay, fair enough. So, one of the question, as a follow-up to the discussion would be, like now that you have a solution and, it has shown efficiency as well, uh, how do you see the market economics or, the challenges on the business side of it? So, how are you seeing like the openness of leaders or of hospital owners to like embrace technology, or they are more on a wait and watch, or how have you read the market?
So this market, it has a financial incentive, just like most markets. And as a business, you need to address these issues and examine at each point in time how your solution brings either reduced costs or expenses, or manages to save time for physicians so they are able to see more patients, and all this follow-up outcomes that come from a healthcare system that adopts your solution. For a solution like Kahun, it's easier to talk about the ROI of saving time and reducing errors and improving the overall documentation and coding of visits. But the value is much more broad, because the value of empowering physicians and improving their workflow or improving their daily experience of practicing medicine has a much higher value that is harder to quantify and translate into revenue. But as I said, I think maybe at the beginning, the healthcare industry has shifted and has grown to understand this as the basis of the crisis. The burnout and the documentation and the turnover and all these reasons and for the workforce crisis that we are seeing globally, part of it could be solved by introducing tools that empower physicians. Of course, by saving time, but also empowering them by knowledge and understanding of their patient and enabling them to practice the best medicine that they can.
Right, right. So, Michal, one of the things that you recently posted on your socials was about the regulations in AI and the big opportunity to regulate the market in a way that it acts as a catalyst. I really love that post. I would want you to, provide a summary or insights out of those thoughts, please.
Thank you. And this is a topic that is very close to my heart because I am again coming from this very conservative profession, medicine. Okay, regulation is a part of it, and it's part of it because it has to be, because we need to regulate the quality and ethical implication of every tool that introduced into this space. And this is actually the core of how and why we built Kahun the way that we built it. We built this knowledge graph in a way that every knowledge that is used by our technology is reasoned and cited all the way back to the sources that it used for every output. Okay? Now, this is the basis of explainability. If you are, and it is being touched upon now in all the discussions about regulations of AI, the topic of explainability and transparency. And it's, as you just, try to start to understand, this is very much in line with what we have created, a system that can act as a validation in real time for every output of an LLM by introducing explainability of reasoning and transparency to the sources. And I believe that this is the core to enable regulation of such tools. And this will take time also in this industry, but also for the trust of the providers. So even by introducing Kahun as that validation layer for other applications who are using now generative AI, introducing the generative AI together with that validation layer of Kahun already meets the principles, the regulatory principles that are being discussed today. So we don't have, there is no way to regulate these tools, but it is important for application developers to at least comply with the principles of these regulations.
Yeah, you said it right. I think, again, if you have to break into a conservative market, if there are standards, then, like everybody can clinch on to that, which basically helps everybody because, you are more clear in terms of the benchmarking or in terms of feeling more secure if a certain standards are being used and so on. Yeah.
Exactly.
So, parting thoughts, what's next for Kahun? How does 2024 looks like? What is the big Kahun moment that you are counting on? If you can share, please.
Sure. I mean, it's always been about becoming wanting to be in the hands of the physicians in every workflow that they are working on. So Kahun's mission is working together both with healthcare systems and healthcare leaders and thinking about how to introduce and work these tools more and more deeply into the workflow of physicians. But on the other hand, we are also working with amazing companies in this space, application developers in this space of all these other technologies that are being used today for ambient care or the next generation EHRs that are being built and introduced into this industry. And we are helping them to use the generative models for as I said, the clinical tasks, for the clinical portion where these models could be used and bring a lot of impact. It's very exciting times for the next years of Kahun.
Great. Thank you so much, Dr. Michal. I believe that it's been a great conversation, a lot of insights for anybody listening to this podcast. And we really appreciate your time and appreciate your work, the unique background that you come in. I think we need more of you, to bring the revolution connecting technology and medical. So thank you so much.
Thank you so much for having me. It's been a pleasure.